If you are ever faced with a polar bear in the Arctic, there are 3 things you absolutely must do. The first is that you must make yourself look as big and as scary as possible. Now, this may sound silly in the face of a 900-pound predator that can be up to 9 foot tall when they stand on their back legs, but essentially, they're quite timid. So if you make yourself look big and scary, they're going to think twice about coming anywhere near you. The second thing that you must do is use anything that you have to hand to make as much noise as possible. So not only are you making yourself look big and scary, but you are bashing together skis, ski poles, shouting at the top of your lungs, all those sorts of things. And the stranger the noise, the better. If you can make a noise that the bear isn't used to, then that will scare them. But the reason I'm talking about polar bears is because this morning I'm going to be telling you about a race I took part in to the North Magnetic Pole in the Arctic. And the Arctic is, of course, where polar bears live. So the race in total is 370 miles long. And it's competed by teams of 3. And as I say, they're totally self-sufficient, apart from when you arrive at these 2 checkpoints. So I read about this race back in June 2004. And as soon as I read about the race, I knew I needed to take part. But of course, I then needed a team. So I rang 2 friends of mine. It was a hot June afternoon, and I rang them both at work. They both worked in the same office. And I said, guys, I've heard about this race. And I think it shows a lot about their character that by the end of their lunch break, they'd rung me back to say, yeah, we're in, we're doing it. And that was it. It actually took us longer to come up with our team name, but in the end, we called ourselves the Polecats. But the final ingredient to our team was, of course, that we needed the funding to take part in this expedition. The entrance fee for the race was £30,000 at the time, and that was before we'd added on extra bits of kit and things like that. Luckily, we found a lovely sponsor, Pink Lady Apples, who came on board. And they were quite a small company, and so they really got involved on a personal level. It wasn't just that they handed us a cheque, it was that they were there. They were the last people that we spoke to before we left for the Arctic. We spoke to them, the first people that we spoke to when we got back as well. So there was just one problem with Pink Lady Apples. As I mentioned, we were already the underdogs. We were the only all-female team. We were a lot smaller in size than a lot of the big, beefy men that were taking part as well. And a lot of people even doubted whether we would make it. But being sponsored by Pink Lady Apples also meant that we were dressed head to toe in pink with our sponsor uniform, which didn't help us to be taken seriously at all when we turned up in pink.